So on the last occasion, we had Mark Carey talking about assessments which we can do and how we can take advantage of functions and features within the forthcoming releases of Dynamics. And today we're going to take a little bit more of I wouldn't say a deeper dive, but a view of some of the highlights of release wave 1. And I say highlights because as Shilin and Chris will testify, the document itself is only 550 pages, and it actually only relates to Dynamics. It doesn't include some of the wider applications. So there is plenty to talk about, but we've just picked a handful of highlights. So we'll be touching on artificial intelligence, OCR, inventory insights, and we'll also then be talking about, or Shilin will be talking about, collaboration across the applications. So I'm going to keep quiet and take a glass of water at the moment, and I shall hand over to Chris and Shilin. Thank you very much.
Morning all, or should I say afternoon. I shall just share my presentation and off we go. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. So hopefully everyone's got as healthy a lunch as on this slide. I'm not sure I will, but off we go. So yes, as Steve mentioned, there is a huge amount of updates every time we see one of these release plans. The link that is there, that's the US version. There's obviously a GB version, not much different, but there's a release twice a year. So this is 2022 wave 1. We've picked a couple of bits out that we find interesting, Shilin and myself, that could really change your business and your infrastructure. But just to be aware, there's usually a launch event, so keep an eye out for that, where the kind of leaders of the business applications unit will do a kind of 1.5 to 2 hours run through of loads and loads of features and include the Power Platform. So Shilin and I have just focused on unified operations and customer engagement today. So first off, OCR, optical character recognition, and for vendor invoices. So just before I mention that, just to be aware that there is what's called the AI Builder, and this is on the Power Platform, and Microsoft have built you lots of AI models so you can feed it data and do all of these things without kind of building the AI models yourself. So there's lots in there, extracting information from ID documents, detect objects and images, but we're interested in this, extract information from invoices, because that is how we can feed an invoice, either via PDF, for example, or maybe a Word document, and start to pull the information out of that without somebody having to read through and type it. So document OCR, optical character recognition, is something that we usually had to bring in, and still do, bring in a third-party ISV to do. So broadly what's happening is it from your supplier incoming some emails into a mailbox, some kind of service mailbox, maybe accounts at HSO, something like that. You want to store those documents somewhere. You need to process those documents so that they're looked at, they're analyzed for characters, the relevant information is sucked out where possible, and then those are added into an area where they can be reviewed for exceptions, and then of course processed for payment. So historically, you could build all of that yourself. The tools have been around for quite a while now, but it's quite a lot to undertake, and there were ISVs and still are very good ISVs out there to achieve it for you. So yeah, basically in comes an invoice, gets scanned, images and data are separated, put in the database, and then you can subsequently process these as invoices. So what Microsoft have done for us is put all of that together in one deployable unit. So we now have the ability to run basically a deployment wizard. All those tools you saw on that kind of progression diagram is tied together. So you have your out-of-the-box OCR solution for vendor invoice processing. What it'll do is bring in everything for you. You can define some business rules. So maybe you know that sometimes certain invoices don't have information you need. You might know your invoice addresses for your customers. You maybe want to put specific legal entities, so you can configure all these business rules. You have a central place, the OCR hub, to track all of that. You'll find that most of the data that comes in gets processed automatically, so you save a lot of time with your accounts payable clerks, loads of effort saved, because what you're tending to do now is look for the exceptions. What didn't scan in okay, what's needs looking at, what might need manual adoption to make it process. So This is a huge improvement from my perspective as an enterprise architect. This is often a gap. If you're processing thousands of invoices every month or even every week, you don't want to do that manually. So this means that you may find this solution out of the box is suitable for your needs, rather than going to one of the bigger vendors who add this functionality to Dynamics. So if you are currently doing it manually, when this solution comes out in the next couple of months, definitely worth a look, and speak to your account manager or your architects on your project, if you're still in project, to talk about this if it's something that's of use. Next, I just wanted to quickly mention the Store Commerce app, which is coming. And this is the next generation of the point of sale app. So those of you who are working with commerce and the point of sale are probably aware there's a concept of the cloud POS, something you access via a web browser, and the modern POS, which is a kind of installed app. So those are being rolled together into one overall app to make it simpler for deployment. It makes your ALM, so how you manage that code and manage that application and deploy it, much simpler. It will also be forwards and backwards compatible with the architecture components of commerce, so you don't need to upgrade everything and all at the same time. You can start using this app with your current versions of CSUs. Apologies if I'm using some terminology that's only familiar to those commerce customers out there. So the extension on ISV code that's already been developed by your MPOS for your MPOS or your CPOS can largely be reused in this app as well. So it's not a case of throwing everything away. You get all the benefits in one. So your two deployment models, installation models, effectively. So one of them is a bit like the CPOS is now. One of them is a bit like MPOS is now. So you can still support offline. Much better performance. The extension and the upgrades are easier. You can have a dedicated hardware station, and of course, offline as an essential part of the componentry is available as well. So this is coming. Those of you who are already running commerce, you've got a couple of years to get off your CPOS and MPOS onto this, but I think it's a good improvement. It rationalizes the two models and provides a lot better performance with the way they've re-architected. The next one I wanted to talk about was the inventory visibility. This is a kind of add-in. If you've got supply chain management already, you can already use this. It's also available as part of the intelligent order management, and it's available kind of standalone as well. So what does it do? It's a third party, well, not third party, it's a standalone tool which is built upon the Power Platform. So your data is in Dataverse. It allows you to do things like track your inventory status, on hand, ordered, purchased, in transit, that kind of thing. Maybe it's quarantined. Across all of your data sources, all of your warehouse and locations can be connected in, not just Dynamics 365 supply chain management, but also any kind of third-party logistics data sources. You might have another ERP in play. You might have some other order management systems, warehouse management systems that are tracking your stock levels. And you can put all of that in the inventory visibility service. So that allows you to have one place to go and have all of your external apps. Maybe your website needs to keep a track of what's available, what it can sell. So you can query on-hand stock availability, what shortages, get immediate responses by calling this directly. Avoid overselling, so you can reserve stock in this tool rather than have to do it in your warehouse or in your supply chain management software. You can use this as your central place to manage all your reservations and access it via API. So you can better manage your promised orders, customer expectations, because you've got a one-stop shop for what is my availability. So this is already out. This has been out for quite a while now, but there are some updates which are almost out. Some of them are out already. Some of them are due. And what are those? So first off, inventory allocation. This is a huge request from a lot of our customers who are trading in multiple territories with multiple websites. You can build some virtual inventory pools and align stock to them. So you can base that on any dimension that is appropriate to you, but commonly we see on channels, your store channels, maybe your Europe B2C website, your UK B2C website, restrict by customer groups and any custom dimensions, etc. And then you basically can restrict the consumption of your overall stock pool to the allocated quantity. So maybe you want to allocate 20% of a given product to your store channel. So once that's consumed, there is opportunity to set up a fallback common pool. So that common pool is kind of first come, first served. But what you can do is carve out portions of your stock to go to different channels or different customers. So you can probably think of loads of scenarios for that, wholesale scenarios, direct to customer scenarios, where this is going to be hugely useful to you. Along with that, available to promise is coming in. So this allows you to have visibility of where your stock will be based on what the system knows in the next month or 4 weeks or 2 weeks. So what is the next available date? I might be out of stock of something, but if you're telling the inventory visibility service of incoming stock, incoming purchase orders which are due to land, you can start to say what's the next available date and basically set your recalculation date, so you can look at a moment in the future and say, what will my projected availability be then? Or you can look, as it says there, in a 7-day kind of rolling availability. What's my stock position across my SKUs for the next 7 days? And that's a graphical format. So you get this basically by queries. You query the solution and you get that data back. You get the date back, the actual on-hand quantity, the scheduled supply, the scheduled demand, and the available to promise quantity at a given date as you query. Obviously, the further out, the less accurate that will get based on the variability of demand. But yeah, this is a great new addition to add, and this allows you to query from your website or wherever you need to see it, really, what the ATP is, and have a one-stop shop for that. Finally, those of you who are already using this inventory visibility may be aware that the WHS, Advanced Warehouse Enabled Items, aren't fully supported. If things are existing in hierarchies of warehouses and location, the tool wasn't up to the task to correctly report and correctly deduct stock. These are being included, so you can have your complicated warehouse hierarchies, etc., defined within supply chain management, for example, and this will respect them correctly and understand those hierarchies and make sure that the numbers you're getting back are real. So with that was a bit of a whistle stop what I saw useful on the unified operations, commerce, supply chain, finance. There's absolutely loads in there. I encourage you to read it yourself or reach out to Debbie and she can put her you in touch with us. But I will now pass over to my colleague Shilin, who is going to talk about a bit more of the customer engagement, collaboration side and teams, etc.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Chris. So before I go into the features that we're going to expect to be released in the customer engagement platform around collaboration, I just wanted to first spend a few minutes on why collaboration is so important in today's world. And I wanted to break it down into 3 different disruption patterns that we're seeing in the way we're working. The first one is the explosion of data that we're now producing. So no matter what department that you work in, what area of the business that you work in, we're all creating data within our business applications, processes, or even workflows that's triggering off in the background. But to really gain intelligence on that data and value and remain competitive with our customers, we need to bring it all together and not have departments working in silos, having it all collaboratively working to get that bigger picture to make those intelligent decisions. The next piece is around hybrid working. Now, we've all experienced the challenges over the past few years with what's happened around the globe, but we have now moved and we're starting to see a more of a different hybrid model and way of working. So in order to support this, we really need to embrace the new ways of working between whether it's a face-to-face or even virtual meetings that we're now having, and also rethink how we're going to leverage technology to get the best experiences out of the engagements that we're having. And then there's the collaboration mindset, which really goes hand in hand with the hybrid working, looking at and reimagining how we're leveraging collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams to be able to get the best experiences and the best outputs of our day-to-day jobs. So with those disruptors, how are we seeing the technology change and how are we seeing Microsoft help support that within the Wave release? Well, first of all, we've got our business applications like our Dynamics applications, whether it's finance operations, CE, commerce, etc. And then we've got our collaboration tools like Microsoft Teams. What we're seeing within this specific release is a much tighter integration, a much closer collaboration between the 2 applications to make it much more seamless to collaborate on records, but also information that you're working on as well. So let's have a look. So the first area I want to touch up on is the marketing collaboration capabilities. So the first area is around the Teams integration within the marketing module itself. Now, this is going to be a common feature across all the CE applications, but just to put it into context for marketing, marketers, in order to create really good content, really good effective customer journeys, they generally work collaboratively across the team. And this goes in the form of collaborating on designs or journeys that they're building up together. What Microsoft have released is actual embedded Teams experience within the Dynamics product itself. So as a marketer, if I'm building out a email template that I want to send out to a group of contacts, and I want to get one of my colleagues to have another look at it, I can initiate a chat conversation directly within Microsoft Dynamics, get their input on it. The chat will then also be automatically allocated and associated to this specific record as well. So there's always a cross-reference back to the record we're having a conversation about moving forward. When I take that to the next step forward, when it comes to marketing activities, all the marketing activities that the marketers are generating, whether it's emails being sent out, people filling out submission forms, etc. What we saw in the past was that information, yes, it was tracked within Dynamics, but it was kept in a separate tab within the Insights tab against a contact or account record or a lead record. What they're doing now is unifying that information to consolidate it into the timeline. So for those who are familiar with the CE concept of the timeline activities, essentially it's a full end-to-end communication timeline of all the different touch points and engagements that you're having with your customers. So by bringing all the marketing stuff in there as well, if you're a sales rep looking at pushing more opportunities into the specific account or contact, you'll be able to see all the different activities marketing are doing along with customer service or along with sales to get that true 360 degree view of your customer. If I move into the sales piece and how the sales collaboration functionalities come in, so Microsoft Teams chat collaboration capability once again, we see it within the sales module. As a seller, I might need to collaborate on opportunities. For instance, it might be a long process that I need to get expertise from across the business to help me support in. Using the Teams chat capability, we can bring everyone together, have a conversation within a specific channel or a chat, and be able to focus on getting the opportunity moving forward within the relevant subject topics. In addition to that, Dynamics are looking at bringing out AI-based contact suggestions. So when you initiate a Teams chat conversation within Dynamics, it will not only look at who's already participating or collaborating on the chat on the record itself, but also look at other information within the system and see similarities on where a potential expertise who've had previous experiences on can help leverage on this specific engagement. For example, you might be working on a niche opportunity, for instance. However, someone in the business might have already dealt with something previously in the past. The intelligence piece will be able to service that, suggest them as one, and you bring them into the conversation and they can support as well and get their experience and learnings from what they did into this engagement to then drive a more of a successful sales process. And then one of the other features we've got is the co-presence of records. So we are pretty much familiar with the co-presence capability within the Office 365 products. So when you're in Microsoft Office, Word or Excel, and you've shared that across multiple people, and you can see when people are within documents and collaborating, the same concept has now been brought into the records within Dynamics 365 as well. So as you're within a record within D365 CE, you'll be able to see if anyone else is in the record, if anyone's doing updates. Also initiate those team chat conversations with an individual person or group, or even look at their contact cards as well. So really driving collaboration from there, and aligning it to the other Microsoft products that we're already familiar with. Other features within the sales collaboration piece is taking the Dynamics 365 record information and bringing it into Microsoft Teams. So taking it the other way around. You might be working within a chat within Microsoft Teams or a Teams group, and you might want to give people within that team chat or group a high level information of a record that you're working on and then you want them to support on, for instance. You'll be able to do this directly from Microsoft Teams by adding a high level overview card of what the record is in relation to, and all the people who are within that chat will be able to either open up the record within Dynamics 365 to give you the full detail, or look at the high level points, or look at the view details, which will then take me to the next point, which is where they can start to add activities, notes directly from Microsoft Teams, and that being fed back into Dynamics. So you're not having to actually move away from the Teams experience or the Teams window that you're working in. It can be all done from that single experience, but the information is flowing into the relevant areas where needed. Another enhancement that they've done with Microsoft Teams is from D365, you may create appointments. Traditionally, those were just general Outlook appointments. However, now you've got the option, the capability to bring in Microsoft Teams appointments directly from Dynamics. So as you're creating an appointment, you set it to, yes, this is a Microsoft Teams appointment. The links and all of the great stuff that Teams does will automatically create. If I'm in Dynamics and that meeting is started, I can join from there. If I'm in my Teams, I can join it from there. If I'm in Outlook, I can join it from in there. The great thing about linking the appointment record into the Dynamics record is that, following from the next part, it brings in the context of the meeting that you've associated the Dynamics record to against the Teams meeting. So if I just zoom in into this little screenshot here, you'll be able to see in this Teams meeting, I've got a panel on the right hand side of the Dynamics 365 record itself. So whilst I'm in that meeting, I can not only see and update information about the opportunity that this appointment is in relation to, but I can also start to make updates as well. So if I wanted to take away any actions, I can create notes or activities off the back of that. I've got my areas for the meeting notes to capture. We've also got the conversation transcript that we've got for the meeting as well. And the intelligence piece then overlays that to say, well, if there's a takeaway point that's not been actioned, let's say I mention, okay, I'm going to follow up with an email with that question that the customer's provided. If I've not actively created a activity for that, the insights piece will recommend that I create an activity for this and follow up on this promise that I mentioned in the meeting as well. So we're not actually losing insight of any actions that we promised to the customer, and it's all being tracked within the system. And then the last point I wanted to mention is around the Outlook extension capability as well. So whenever we're sharing record information, generally it's a copy and paste of the URL of the record itself. Well, with this new capability, and it's being driven by what Microsoft are introducing called Context IQ, is essentially taking that URL and taking all the high level information, just like what we see within the Teams message over here, and putting that context into the Outlook email that you're sending out as well. So you're not necessarily having to click into the link to get the context of the record. Microsoft will automatically take all the high level key points of the record, put it into the context of the email just by copy and pasting that URL from your Dynamics into your email body. And the last area I wanted to cover off within the collaboration is around customer service. So once again, collaboration within customer service, using Microsoft Teams, we're able to embed conversations with agents to anyone of us within the organization to help with support tickets. So if there's an issue that they need, they can create a Teams conversation against the support ticket with all the context of the support ticket sent to the contact that they're going to engage with all the relevant information for them to then be able to support on that specific ticket. In addition to that, Microsoft have now released a capability called swarming. Now, swarming is for those scenarios where we're dealing with really complex and time-sensitive issues for customers, and we're needing expertise from across the business to be able to support the response for that specific issue. Now, what swarming does is it allows you to, first of all, as an agent, set a question. So what is it you're asking help on? What's the description or the steps taken, and what are the skill sets required for this issue that you need support on? As you fill out that form as an agent and starts the swarm, it will then go ahead and look at all the people with that we've set up as part of the swarm, look at all their skill sets and availability, and pull across the expertise across the business to then bring them into a group conversation to then support the resolution of this ticket. Now, some people might reject the invitation, and that's perfectly fine. What the system will then do is look at the next available person or the next best match who will be able to answer this question or support this question for the agent. So it will then branch out to all the available people, bring them in, and as the agent, they'll be able to see who the people are, who's accepted, and what skill sets that they've been associated to. So we know exactly who the subject matter experts are for the specific areas. We'll be able to then collaborate, identify what the issue is. Can we put a resolution to the customer? Yes, we can. Get the resolution out and close off the ticket and leave our customer happy, because we've actioned it much faster than having to send loads of emails back and forth internally to find the right people that we need to contact with. So that wraps up the collaboration piece and what we're seeing within customer engagement. That's only a subsection of collaboration capabilities. There's a lot more that we're starting to see, and a lot of these features are in process of being rolled out right through to September, that we're looking to see these come through. So
thank you very much, Sheldon. So it sounds as though we could probably run another topic in September. So I think you've just booked yourself a session.